Hi, this is Sean Hafer, and in this video, we're going to talk about using alpha channels as textures in Redshift. I currently teach a class in cinema, and for years we've had to use the standard renderer because the students have their own laptops and they use Macs, and until the M1's Redshift obviously wasn't an option unless they had the highest ends computers with the AMD cards, or they would have to use the GPU render version of Redshift, which is extremely slow, as we all know. So in this, I'm going to just talk a little bit about some techniques I've found to use to allow them to use PNGs or alpha channels in the textures. So if you remember in the old cinema, the standard renderer, we could just come in here and I'll come down to classic materials and create that. And so if we had this one, we could just come in. So I'm just basically going to do a clock hand here. We could come in and load in our color channel, right? Just grab a PNG of, say, this minute hand. I'll open that. And then I would come down. I'm going to turn off reflectance. I would come down and go to my alpha, load it in, and that same minute hand PNG, and hit open. Hit no, and then we immediately see the preview. And then even in Redshift, we can use this. So if I came over here and put it on our minute hand, we're going to see it and we're going to see the preview. So in this case, with this being just a simple plane, what I would then do is have the students, I guess I can do it right here, have the students come in and make this editable. Sorry, let me get rid of this. We make that minute hand editable so we can move the anchor point, take the anchor point, move it up here to the center of that texture map of the minute hand, turn that back off, and then we could just zero out the minute hand on the Y, and then we would have it lined up right on our little stem there. And then that way, when they rotated the object, obviously they can set that hand. What happens, so inside Redshift, I mean, I think the normal way that I've found to do this is if I create a new Redshift material and I would come in here and I could bring in my PNG of my minute hand. I'm just going to drag it in. And then we could connect that. If we connect that to the out color and to the opacity, it's not going to give us what we want, right? Because it's not reading it correctly. So that's okay. So what I need to do is use a color splitter. So if I just come in here, color splitter, and then we can drag the out color of the minute hand to the color, and then our out alpha to the input of the color splitter, and the out alpha here, sorry, out color to the input of the color splitter, out alpha to our opacity. And now we get the same effect. But the only problem is in the preview, we don't see it. So if I came over here and I just got rid of this off the minute hand, actually I could just make a copy here so we could have two versions. So if I just go ahead and hide this old one, and this is our new one here, with Mat 2, I can drag it on, and we don't get the preview. Now it'll render fine if I go to my, render to picture viewer, or I use my Redshift start IPR. Okay, it'll be fine. So again, you can work in that mode. With some of the M1 chips, it's not the easiest for them, but that does work, but you don't get the preview. So while you're working though, the rest of the time, if you don't have your IPR on, you're just seeing a black line here, which isn't the end of the world, right? Or you could use the old material. That renders fine as well. So if we turn this one back off and on, we can see that renders fine. But to see it as a preview using new Redshift materials, you basically just have to create an alpha channel. So inside of Photoshop, here was my original, my PNG, and then I basically just kind of put a white background on it, inverted it, right? So our white becomes, our black becomes a transparency, and save that out as a JPEG. And then what we can do there, let's go ahead and create a third hand. Oops. So I pull this down here and we get rid of that one. What we can do here is just, as you would expect, come in here. We will drag in our original PNG is fine. You know, we don't need anything different there. And that'll just go to the color like normal. And this time, if we have the minute hand alpha, we can just drag that out color to the opacity. And that'll give us a preview. And so that's, I mean, it's in a little extra step if you don't already have an alpha channel in Photoshop, but it does make it a lot, I think, a lot easier to see it or preview as we're working. So here we go. You don't have to be in the IPR. You can just be working normally and it'll still render, you know, perfectly for you. So I think it's just kind of 3 ways you can go about it. Use the old cinema standard material. That works fine. And unless you have a reason not to, I guess that's okay. If you want to keep everything in Redshift and you don't care about seeing it as a preview, you can always use the color splitter, such as this one, right? We have that one. Or if you want to see it, just separate out your alpha into another, you know, your grayscale image, and then you can see the preview even here inside your node editor as well as in your preview. All right, well, I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.